What's something that sucks about being a woman? When I was 5 years old, I was on the neighborhood swim team. We were allowed to use the pool for fun during the weekends, and I was just chilling with my, then, best friend on some lawn chairs near the pool. I remember wearing a one-piece swimsuit, and she was wearing one of those fake bikinis that little girls wear to look older. Two boys from the swim team walked over. They were the same age as us, and went to our school as well. I remember them wearing brightly colored swimming trunks. "Hey girls, wanna see something?" We didn't know what they meant, but before we could ask what he was going to do, both of the boys dropped the fronts of their swimming trunks. I was shocked, and so was my friend. We were both speechless. I remember trying to close my eyes, but they said they wouldn't go away if I didn't look at them long enough. So we had to stare as they danced around with their 5-year-old penises pulled out of their swimsuits for only us to see. We told their moms later and left early. I don't remember what happened after that. When I was 9 years old, a boy in my class arrived early to school, just like me. One of his friends dared him to kiss the first girl he could find, full on the lips. He turned around to find me, and I remember the grin that contorted his face into something else completely. He chased me around the playground as I yelled stop, stop, for everyone to hear. No one did anything. He was taller and heavier than me. While I was running for dear life, I turned a corner, and his leg appeared out of nowhere. I tripped over it and crashed into the ground. My back hurt really badly from the fall. He flipped me over and pinned me down with his arms and body weight. I was starting to cry. He kissed me against my will. Luckily, he missed my lips and kissed my chin instead. I hated the feeling of saliva on my chin, but when I told the teacher, just laughed about it and told me that boys will be boys. I was shocked. When I was 10 years old, my best friend at the time happened to be male. His parents were out of town for work, and so he and I were going to have a sleepover. My sister slept in my parents' room, and he slept in my sister's bed. That morning, while we were changing on opposite ends of the room, taking great care to not look at each other, he stripped down until he was naked. He forced me to watch him dance. The longer I kept my eyes closed, the longer he stayed there. He wouldn't put on clothes until I looked for it as long as he felt it was necessary. I hated it, but I had already learned my lesson. I didn't tell anyone about it afterwards. He was smiling the whole time. When I was 11 years old, the boys in my class made a list about the most attractive girls in our 5th grade class. They rated us on boob size and overall prettiness. I came second for boob size. I had matured more quickly than nearly all of the other girls in my grade, and the boys never let me forget about it. The boy who told me had commented on my boob size a lot beforehand. He was the person who kissed me. I came last for overall prettiness. I never wanted to be on the list, but I cried myself to sleep that night, thinking of ways to look prettier so I wouldn't have to be last. When I was 11.5 years old, the boys in my class forced me into searching porn on my Kindle. They knew very well I was raised in a religious household and that I did not really get what sex exactly was. They knew that I didn't want to talk about it, and yet they told me that I had to, and said that it would make me cooler, and people would like me more if I did know what I was talking about. This eventually led me down a rabbit hole of addiction, which I only recovered from about a year and a half later. I was disgusted with myself. When I was 12 years old, I wanted to be president of our 7th grade class, so I made a speech and waited for the votes to come in. Eventually, the results were tallied up. There would be 2 co-presidents, equal in every way. I was one of them, the other was the class clown. He didn't do much. Instead of making speeches and taking care of the class issues, he'd hand me a piece of paper and my pencil case and make me take notes instead. I hated every second of it, and no one seemed to take notice of it every time I mentioned how much I wanted to have his role, how I wanted to be equal to my co-president. All they did was laugh instead. When I was 14, I went on a family trip with a family friend who wanted to see the world before he graduated. We brought him to an open marketplace, and were walking single file when I felt someone's eyes on me. I moved out of the way as quickly as I could, but I still felt his hands on me. A man in his late 20s had tried to grab me by the butt. One of his hands was positioned where I had stood only 10 seconds beforehand. The other was near where my cheeks should have been. He stared at me and made kissing sounds with his mouth, smoke escaping through his parted lips. His bloodshot eyes and inconsistent movements showed just how high he really was. My dad grabbed my shoulder and stood behind me for the rest of the trip to the marketplace. When we left, another group of high men looked at me running towards our car and yelled, "Hurry, baby, hurry." The smoke that escaped from their cigarettes made me want to vomit. That night, I cried myself to sleep. When I was nearly 15, I had a boyfriend. For our first date, we went to the zoo to see a special light installation, known for being a romantic spot. It was a couple of days before Christmas. When we reached the edge of the lake, it took 20 minutes for me to convince myself that it was okay to kiss him. When we finished and were just cuddling in each other's arms, a group of young men passed by and taunted us in Spanish. My boyfriend was Hispanic. He turned red upon hearing what they said, and wouldn't translate it for me. He made us move away from them. I couldn't kiss him anymore after that. I was too scared that someone else would come and mock us. On my 15th birthday, I received rape and death threats from men online, on this very website. They threatened to choke me, To give me a pearl necklace, bring baby oil and tit fuck me to show me what a real man was. I have never even done a face reveal. This is the only remotely sexual answer I have ever posted. On top of that, I had already received many messages asking for nudes and telling me that I was hot. I've each and every one of them, and reported them too. But I couldn't get rid of the bitter aftertaste left in the back of my mouth. I have been 15 for several weeks now. I am not allowed to take walks by myself at night. I am not allowed to go to a mall if I am not with an adult or with a group of friends. I am not allowed to go out in tight clothing when I am feeling confident about my body. I am by no means attractive, but I have a decent body, and I am a young, teenaged female. I shouldn't have to worry about being harassed for what I wear when I go out. I should be able to wear what makes me feel confident without worrying about what will happen to me if I do, whether that be a pantsuit or a pair of leggings. I should not have to worry about being raped if I don't go out with a parent or a group of friends, or even if I take a walk at night. Why should I have to do any of these things just because I happen to be born in a female body? I shouldn't have to play secretary just because I'm a girl. The worst part is that these aren't even all of the examples I can give. I've been looked at by older men, commented on, harassed even, and forced to partake in activities I never wanted to partake in the first place. Fuck that. These are just some choice examples of why it sucks to be a woman. I could come up with a million more.